Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we got to start off here with a picture of the flow of the jet stream right now here on Friday. What we see is a very strong, nearly zonal flow across the Pacific Ocean here in terms of the jet stream, but then it breaks off into this split flow, one piece, the northern branch tucking way up there into parts of Alaska and western Canada, and a much stronger piece to the south that kind of cuts here through Mexico. Well, what we've seen here with this massive ridge that's moved in here is quite a bit of warm air that's moved all the way up across western Canada. But before I get off of this image here, I want you to see, you can see how strong the jet stream is here coming into parts of Northern California. That's going to be a major theme of this video because Northern California is going to be the major target over the coming days of the next several weather systems. But look at what that flow pattern's done. You're looking at a map here where there are dots showing you on the 20th of March and on the 21st where we were either approaching or we surpassed some of our record temperatures, and it's been confined to that region in Canada and parts of Alaska due to this split flow. So very, very warm conditions up there. What are the consequences of that? We'll take a look at the snowmelt here. We're going to specifically focus on the Columbia River Basin here. Take you back to March 13th. You can see all the snow tucked away in here. Well, let me now show you the same view from March 20th. And what do we see? A pretty large reduction in that snow content, that snow there on the ground here in the Columbia Basin. And that's what happens when we bring in a ridge that lasts for several days. Now, over the last few days, what we've seen here is got a map that shows you the last 3 days of total accumulated precipitation. We talked about the system coming onto California. In general, we forecasted we're between 2/10 of an inch in some locations, approaching 3/4 to 1 inch of rainfall. And the models did a pretty good job with this. But as this rain came in, we certainly saw some lightning and some thunder with it. Got all the way down to Southern California there. We even had some reports of some very small hail. Didn't reach severe criteria, but we had some small hail. So after that flash bloom, with the warm and dry conditions a week ago, we certainly brought in some adverse weather here over the last few days. Now, while this has all been going along on the West Coast here, the Gulf of Alaska has been giving us meteorologists some pretty serious eye candy. This is a beautiful, deep low pressure system that's just swirling away there, heading up toward Alaska, being pulled north by that ridge. But what I want you to focus on is this. We see that going across the Pacific Ocean, some stronger flow, and that's going to take aim on California in the coming days. So to kind of see how much total accumulated precipitation we're talking about and just kind of see the flow of the atmosphere, here's every 6 hours through the next 10 days watching what the European model's picking up on accumulated precip. And I just want you to see the flow pattern. Here's the big front that's trailing that large low pressure system. Well, it's going to be pushing toward the West Coast first, but then you're going to see moisture coming out of these two regions coming right toward Northern California. So here we go. Every 6 hours, pushing into the West Coast. And you can see that while much of the West Coast and the northwestern United States is going to be picking up some precipitation over the next 10 days, the main target area there is going to be Northern California and the Sierra Nevada. Okay, why does it look like this? Well, again, the pieces that of the jet stream we're watching carefully are going to be this kind of persistent troughing that we kind of see here south of Alaska. And the main thing that's blocking up the flow here is going to be this large ridge. Now, with that large ridge, each one of these little low pressure systems is going to have to kind of travel around it. And as they go around it, kind of orbit that high pressure system that's sitting right in through here, that's going to migrate toward Alaska, that's just going to keep targeting, this region for the heaviest precipitation. So let's kind of get a look at the timing of our next few troughs as they go orbiting around that ridge. So what we're watching here, we see that by the time we get into Friday midday, into Saturday morning, we see this little trough that kind of wiggles through here, bringing in some precipitation to start the weekend in Northern California, but the much bigger trough there sliding through Sunday into Monday. That'll cool some temperatures down and bring in the precipitation Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. But again, look at where the trough is centered, right here in Northern California. Well, that one slides through, invigorates a pretty sizable low pressure system in the middle part of the country. But what does the atmosphere do? It really splits up into this flow where we have this high, this big ridge over Alaska, and this trough to the south. And while that sits like that, we're just going to keep pushing these troughs toward the West Coast, targeting, Northern California, Southern Oregon with time here. And that's what the jet stream's really trying to tell us it wants to do as we progress into the first week of April. And so with that kind of as our background, let's take a look at what the operational European model is picking up in terms of precipitation. So let me step you back here and just say this. Friday, we're watching that first front come on shore here. So this is Friday afternoon and Friday evening. So as that front kind of lashes the west coast, it's going to be mainly from Northern California through coastal Oregon and Washington. That's going to be causing some issues. That will push through parts of the Intermountain West throughout the day on Friday into Saturday and Sunday, bringing in some snows to higher elevations in Nevada, parts of Utah, and eastern Oregon, getting over also into Idaho. But this isn't a major precipitation producer. Once we get through that, remember we're watching our next trough coming through on Monday into Tuesday. Look at where it takes aim. Again, Northern California, bringing in some snow to higher elevation and rain to everybody else. And that one pushes through, bringing precipitation all the way up into Oregon and Washington. So this is now Monday night into Tuesday morning. So that's the next big system. As we continue to play forward, by the time we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, here comes our next coastal feature coming into, again, Northern California. You do see each time, though, precipitation spreads through the northwest, through Idaho into Montana, putting down some snow at higher elevations and some valley rains here. But this is not a washout event for the northwest. It's really targeting California. You can see all the way through next Wednesday into Thursday, we got the same thing going on here. So as you take you out for a full week, it's really targeting this region here in parts of Northern California that's going to take much of this precip. Now, there's some pretty chilly air coming in after the 27th, 28th, 29th, and that's why we start to see snow at that point in parts of Montana, covering a pretty big chunk of the state here. Not heavy amounts, but certainly some snow. So if we kind of add all this up, just looking all the way to next Friday morning, the map over here on the left is focused on much of the west coast and the northwest. Again, our heavier amounts are in Northern California. We do see in the Sawtooth here on parts of the Blue Mountains. We could be picking up some more snow here with this, but you're looking here at liquid equivalent. It can be dry here in the Columbia Basin. Cascades doing their best to pick up some more snow, but overall lighter amounts. The major precipitation event, like I talked about, again, Northern California. We see anywhere between 2 and 4 inches of precipitation coming through in the next week with some much higher amounts right there along the shore and also in the Sierra Nevadas, where this will, of course, be snow. So that's our target region over the coming days. What about temperatures? Well, much of the really, really warm stuff is still going to be confined up here into northern Canada when we compare this to average. So as we kind of click play here, looking at the European ensemble, we see that much of the weekend, while you could call this mild compared to average, it's not going to be a really warm weekend. But for any of us up here, especially in Montana, anything warmer than average is going to be fantastic, even if it's just a few degrees. You'll see that California carries a cool bias throughout much of this forecast, and that's simply because of the precipitation, the cloud cover in through this area. But it's not going to be, we're not going to see any major temperature anomalies till we get to the 28th and 29th. As that big system goes racing through the middle part of the country, we see that to finish March and begin April, we're going to start off with some pretty cool weather here in parts of Montana behind this big low that'll be churning in the middle part of the United States. Once I get past that, though, things kind of go back over to their normal pattern for spring, which is highly volatile. I mean, spring, for crying out loud, that's what we get. We get a volatile pattern here. Okay, in terms of precipitation through the next 14, 15 days, where we look for wetter and drier anomalies, well, you can really see where the wetter conditions are going to be compared to drier than average. Like I said, it's not as though we're not going to get any precipitation here in the Pacific Northwest, just a drier pattern because the target area, again, is Northern California. Now, if we put this all together and put it in perspective, we can see that over the last 30 days, the one region that has been dry, and we've been talking about this for a while, has been coastal northern parts of Oregon, but coastal Washington and parts of the northern Rockies there in Idaho and Montana. Snowpack, let's look at basin average snow water content. This is also the region that has had, it's been below average, although the numbers still above 70% look good. Much of the rest of the West is much above average here. Now, to add to this, we got our newest drought monitor update came out on Thursday, the 21st. And what we can see is by comparing it to 2 weeks ago, where we've really changed drought, well, this has gone down, but this has increased, and that's been the region we've been watching that's been dry because we've been missing, the flow's been coming into a little bit farther to the south rather than hitting Washington over the last several weeks now. Just to kind of give you a quick update, we got a brand new European long-range update that just came out, taking us out through the next few weeks here. And just to show you the beginning of April, because of that big system that kind of slides through, it's going to start off cool, but it looks as though by the time we get into the days, April 10th to April 15th, things moderate a bit, and our flow pattern probably looks something a bit more like this: strong subtropical jet, with cooler temperatures in here primarily due to snowpack. So that just gives you a quick update for the longer range stuff. And with that, though, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next Western Regional forecast coming out on Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.